Welcome, everyone. In just a moment, our presenters will share with you their experience from the field as they have built their ESP peer mentoring program from the ground up. We know that we all strive every day for all students to receive a high quality education in safe and welcoming public schools. And we assert that this can't happen unless ESPs have high quality, accessible professional development, workplace preparation, and support from day one. And that is why NEA is working with affiliates to build ESP peer mentoring programs that will support ESPs at all stages of their careers. Peer mentoring, the specialized and specific on-the-job support that is by ESPs and for ESPs, is what our ESP members deserve and what our students deserve. Now, let me introduce you to tonight's presenters. Tara Gauding. Wave, Tara. Hi, Tara. Tara is the Enrichment Center Coordinator at Frederick H. Tuttle Middle School in South Burlington, Vermont. When she began her work at Frederick H. Tuttle 22 years ago, she was a special education paraeducator, and she has been a member of NEA since 2005 when their bargaining unit was organized. She's been the chief negotiator for their bargaining contract, and she also serves on the Professional Development Committee for Vermont NEA. Gloria Matigaris. Hi, Gloria. Gloria has been working in a K-8 school in the Champlain Valley School District in Vermont for 14 and a half years as an intensive needs paraeducator. She has been the ESP building rep and executive board member of the Champaign Valley Education Association since 2017. And this is her third year on the ESP negotiation team. Stephanie Dupre is hi Stephanie, is a communication specialist with Champaign Valley School District. She has been with the school district for 5 years. 3 years ago, she was asked to be a co-building rep with Gloria and sits on the district executive board. Stephanie has 2 school-age children and is currently back in school for a speech language pathology assistant certification. And now let's finally begin the presentation. Tara?
The ESP Professional Growth Continuum is a framework built by the NEA for ESP to continue their professional learning. Its purpose is to raise the professional standing throughout the ESP's careers. This crosses all ESP categories. Each of the 8 universal standards, which are right on the screen, have 3 levels: foundational, proficient, and mastery. More information can be found through the link on the slide. Grace, you may flip.
So the goal of supporting our own through mentoring is to improve both paraeducator leadership and the skills of new paraeducators to directly improve student learning and equity in education. We were seeking to achieve and implementing this program as a way to improve the leadership skills of paraeducators and facilitate new paras. The program is designed to directly improve student learning and provide the equity that we're all striving for. We feel strongly that when we support our peers through mentorship, new staff will feel fully supported and welcomed and encouraged to continue their growth as a paraprofessional. Next slide. So we asked our participants to participate in a Jamboard session, and that's a brainstorming session. And we wanted to get their thoughts on how they would feel it would be beneficial as a mentor. So we would like to take a few minutes to put your thoughts into our Padlet. And I believe Grace is going to put this into play. And as participants, you will be able to enter in your thoughts on what are the benefits to a mentor.
So I have placed the URL for Padlet, which is a digital bulletin board. And so if you follow the link that was placed in chat, you should be taken to the Padlet site that you see currently on your screen. And if you add your answers in by clicking the arrow in the, the plus sign in the um, lower right hand section of your screen, you'll be able to add your answers to the question.
Some of these look really great. I think we'll take one more minute to let you add some of your thoughts. And I'm just going to read some out as you're adding them. Help motivate people. Confidence is valuable. Ability to develop and sustain your peers. Supporting one another. Being able to help someone with problems or give directions of where to find the answers that they're looking for. These are all great. I see another one, providing social emotional support. That's so much of our base of what we do as paraprofessionals within our schools, is to provide that social emotional piece for kids. And develop necessary skills. To grow and learn, develop new leaders, excellent. And facilitating the onboarding process. That looks really great. Some other ideas that came from our staff when we did our trainings were there's always new learning when we are teaching something new. And I thought that one was really powerful and special. Creating a team approach, bringing together the community, validating the ESP as a skilled and essential role at our schools. And I think we can all agree that that is, one of our goals as a whole, along with the growth continuum, to really improve our professionalism across the board. So thank you for that. And I think we'll move on to the next slide, Grace.
Okay. So the next we're going to look about is benefits for the mentee. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing using a Padlet, but here I want you to think back to when you were a new hire and what did you need and how could this program have benefited you and all new hires? Support system, absolutely. Some training, just going to go and read them as they pop up. Feeling of community, yep, help navigating, absolutely. Yep. Support system, someone to bounce new ideas off of, networking with others, absolutely, these are all great. Someone to turn to. And boy, did we need that this year. Allyship, yes. Learning worksite culture, absolutely. You know, it's hard to go into a new place and not knowing people and not knowing, you know, policies and practices. And so to have somebody to turn to in confidence is so important. Conflict resolution, absolutely. That's a good one. Yep, climate and culture of the school, building community. These are all great. Clearly, you guys have been around for a while and know this is awesome. Yeah. Great. I'm loving it. So again, we did this with our group, and some of the stuff they came up with very similar stuff as you guys, creating connections with someone with experience creates a sense of belonging. I'm not, you know, so they're not feeling alone. Non-judgmental support, very important. And validation of their successes and help with frustration. So a lot of times we go to work and work so hard and we're not validated. Nobody ever tells us we're doing a great job. So, you know, that's part, you know, it's for a mentee, they need to hear that because they have a lot of questions and concerns, and that's great. I'm seeing some more stuff pulling up. Encouraging self-care, absolutely. And this is something we have always fought for and looked for, and especially this year, self-care has been at the top of our list. Understand my rights, absolutely. We often tell our new employees, our mentors tell them, you know, like, you need to know your contract. Very important to know your rights. Let's see. Yep. Sharing your story. Yes. Yep. This is great. Yeah, I think we're ready to move on to the next slide.
All right. So the next area that we're going to ask you to do another Padlet, because it seems like it's really beneficial, is what would you consider benefits to the student from a mentorship program? And think about, you know, how all of our students would gain better access to their paraeducators and support staff through a mentorship program. I like it already. Adults all on the same page. Boy, that's so critical, to have all members on a team all on the same page. I'm seeing consistency, better quality support. Excellent. Yes, all educators working together for the advancement of students. Really nice one. Modeling peer support. That's a really good one. Our working conditions are the students' learning conditions. Yes, absolutely. Supporting from the top to the bottom. Absolutely. Comfort and confidence. Yep. Our kids are going to learn better if they're feeling like they're in a safe and comfortable environment. And if we, as paraeducators and support staff, are less stressed out, absolutely, they are going to feel that for sure. Great job, everybody. That was the fun part about our trainings with our mentors and mentees, was, you know, just seeing what their ideas were. And some of the others that our team came up with were students' voice has more advocates, a lot less confusion for students, again, a judgment-free area, and a place where all questions are welcomed. So thank you for that feedback. And I'm going to let Gloria take the next slide.
Grace, if you can go back one. we're going to do one last Padlet, and we're going to be looking at the benefits of the school. And when thinking of the school, you know, we're thinking about teachers and administrators. So, and anybody else that you think. So Grace, yep, thank you for getting that Padlet set up. Yes, so here we're looking at benefits for school, the school. Retention is a big one, absolutely. Climate of community from all involved. Consistency amongst staff. This is great. On-the-job training and support, happy workers. It's very important to have happy workers. A school that everyone wants their children to attend. Working together works. Improved relationships, culture of learning, work as one. More inclusive and collaborative. Yep. These are great. Confident and supported educators would bring positivity to the classrooms. Absolutely. Less administrative intervention. Yes. Yep. Schools need paraeducators everywhere and at all times. This pandemic increased the needs 100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. Our districts realized that they could not have run this year without us. Absolutely. Yep. These are all great. Thank you so much for that. I'll share a few of the stuff that our folks came up with. Increased staff retention, decreases some of the workload for special educators, you know, with time answering questions. Also, mentors taking on the role of building tours and helping fill out proper timesheets. So taking on that role. And a reputation that the district is a welcoming place to work for. Great. Thank you guys for your participation. I think, Grace, we're ready for that next slide. All right, in the beginning, an idea was formed. So Stephanie and I, along with another coworker who could not be here tonight, Laura Crabtree, have been piloting this pilot project, this ESP mentoring program in our school district this year. So we'll give you a little bit of background on how we got to the point where we're at and where we're hoping to go to. So the beginning. So back in February 2019, I attended the Vermont NEA ESP conference. One of the seminars that I attended was on the ESP mentoring program. And one of the presenters was Juliette Longchamp, who happens to be the Vermont NEA's Director of Professional Programs. So as I sat in the seminar and participated in the exact same activity you just did, I kept thinking, this program is exactly what we need. Often our ESPs are overseen and just thrown into the job with no training or orientation process. And our professional development opportunities were limited, to say the least. After the conference, I reached out to Stephanie, who's here tonight, because I was just so excited with the prospect of having this, this program. And I had a vision set in my mind. And what happened at this conference was my mindset shifted. I went from complaining to taking action. And that was the first big step in this process. When we collectively take action, things change. So Stephanie agreed to embark on this project with me. And we had several meetings with Juliet for further info and guidance and tried to pinpoint what were the needs of our district. Juliet shared all sorts of different stuff with us and grant opportunities with us. But to be honest, I was feeling extremely overwhelmed. There was a lot of information to take in, and the thought of writing a grant proposal was intimidating, to say the least. As Stephanie and I sat with all this, Juliet reached out to me to tell me the NEA would be having a weekend conference on this ESP mentoring program in Washington, D.C. She told me to get a team together to attend. And so that's exactly what I did. I, of course, called Stephanie right away. And then I reached out to a colleague who works at our high school. Her name is Laura Crabtree, and unfortunately, she could not be here with us tonight. But she has been a fierce advocate for ESPs for 20 years. And I knew she would be the perfect fit for our team, as we all shared the same desire, getting ESPs the tools, training, and support necessary to be effective at their jobs and provide the best educational support to our students. But the team didn't end there. We knew that we needed buy-in from the district. So I reached out to our superintendent and requested that someone at the administrative level join us at this conference. Not only did we have an administrator come to the conference with us, but she was in full agreement that this ESP mentoring program would benefit our district. So when starting this process, think about which ESPs in your district have the same vision as you. Who can you get to embark on this project with you? And include an administrative liaison on your team. I'll be honest, things didn't happen overnight. Remember, I said I first learned about this program in February 2019. The conference in Washington was in January 2020, a full 11 months before we really started to hit the ground. The conference was amazing, and it was great to meet other ESPs from across the nation wanting to do the same work. But pretty much everything you need to know about how to start a program is in the NEA's Education Support Professionals Supporting Our Own Through Mentoring manual. This manual will be available to you at the end of this webinar. Over the next month, our committee met several times, which included our administrative liaison, to prepare a presentation to bring to our lead administrators on launching a pilot project in our district. 1 month later, that presentation happened. Our lead administrators were interested in the prospects of this program and agreed to allow us to pilot it. Next slide, please. So this was our initial action plan proposal. And so the first part was establish our pilot committee, which we did. We had our 3 SPs and our 1 administrative liaison. The next part was to identify funding. So remember I said I was intimidated by the prospect? Well, it was a lot easier than I had ever imagined. We were able to secure a planning grant through the NEA's Center for Great Public Schools. So I encourage you to look into those prospects. We were also able to get funding through our state affiliate, Vermont NEA. This helped pay for our mentors and mentees as a stipend for participating. And initially we were told we were going to get $5,000, and Juliet was able to find us more money to make sure that our program was successful. Furthermore, our district agreed to pay the 3 of us, our co-coordinator stipends, through Title II funds. Next was obtain mentoring training. So for our pilot year, Juliet, who I mentioned earlier, is our state director of professional programs. She really guided us throughout this whole process. She helped us build our training sessions for our mentors and took on the role of trainer for this first year. This gave us the opportunity to learn how to do this work. We are now prepared to lead moving forward. Do you know who your state affiliate director of professional program is? I'm curious. Go ahead and answer that in the chat. I'd love to see. Okay. I'm not seeing anybody. Yes, both ESP and certificated. Good. No. All right. So for those of you who know who that is, I suggest you reach out to them and see how they can support you. And if you don't know who that is, check your state affiliate's website. I'm sure you can get that information. Great. Thank you. So the next one on there is work with HR to identify new paraeducator for the pilot. So our action plan said we would work with HR, but there was a shift there. We actually worked with our building administrators. So when someone was hired, they would notify us and we would then make contact with them. As you can see, it says new paraeducator hires and not new ESP hires. This is because when we pinpointed the needs of our district, it was the paraeducators that needed the most support. Our turnover rate was high and we really wanted to retain our paras. Also, our absenteeism rates were so high that there was a consistent strain on the system. Our bus drivers, food service personnel, custodial maintenance, and administrative assistants do not leave the district at the high rates that our paras do. And because they work in more intimate groups, they naturally provide their own unstructured mentoring. But I want to emphasize that although this is our district's need, the ESP mentoring program works for every single ESP category. So our goal was to launch the pilot in August 2020, and we did that. So we're very happy about that. We had a pre-service orientation. I said earlier that this never happened for ESP hires. It always happens for new teacher hires, but ESP hires never got an orientation. So that was new this year and exciting. We also had our mentors and mentees had to do a 1-hour monthly meeting together. Next slide, Stephanie.
Thanks, Gloria. As Gloria said, it was super exciting and super scary all at the same time. But once we got the approval for going ahead forward with the pilot program, it really, so much of it did seem to fall into place. So our action plan proposal for this current school year, 2021, we asked to pilot this program in just 2 of our schools. We have 6 schools in our district, and we chose to do that because Gloria and I and Laura, our other lead co-coordinator, those were the 2 buildings that we were all working in. So we thought it best to start small and make sure that we could handle whatever workload was coming at us. So we did decide to prioritize those locations as our pilot buildings. So we as the lead trainers were presented with what the hiring needs were going to be at the start of the year from administration. And our plan as lead trainers was to have a mentor available for each new hire. We also wanted to be prepared to have a mentor for any paraprofessional that was on any sort of improvement plan. And having an ESP or a paraeducator on an improvement plan, we thought was important to have a mentor, again, to support them, help in any way possible for them to rise, increase their level of ability to do their job. Next slide, Grace. So goals for the pilot year. One of our goals was to help develop paraeducator leaders at the two buildings. We had to take extraordinary steps due to COVID to ensure our training sessions for our future mentors were resourceful and productive. And we were fortunate to have very strong candidates as mentors. Many of our mentors had tremendous amount of years of service in their respective buildings. So despite the fact that we could not even have in-person trainings, we built a very solid team of mentors. The second was to support new hires in the unbelievable start of this school year. Our belief is that if a new employee feels supported, just like many of you said in our Padlet, they are more likely to stay on and with their job. So retention of employees is obviously one of the goals. We also believe that the student learning improves, as we saw again in the Padlet, when a paraeducator is comfortable and supported. And next slide.
So setting up the program. When we got the approval to pilot the program, we began with the next step, creating a handbook as a guide for mentors, mentees, and administrators. Instead of starting from scratch, we looked over our district teachers' mentoring handbook. We mirrored the content that was in theirs and inputted it in ours, but of course with an ESP focus. And we also consulted and gathered information from the co-coordinators of the teacher mentoring program. I'm curious, do any of you have a teacher mentoring program in your district? You can go ahead and answer that in the chat. All right, I see a yes, no, in progress. Okay. Great. So those that do have that at their school, I would use that to your advantage in regards to equitable opportunities. And I would also meet with those teacher mentoring coordinators, learn about their program. Working with people who already are doing this work is so beneficial. Now go ahead and share an overview of what was included in that handbook. We included the responsibilities of the mentor, which were to complete the mentor training. We had 4 separate sessions throughout the year. The initial training was an introduction to mentoring, and in the afternoon, they met their mentees for a building orientation. But to be honest, due to COVID, things shifted, and instead of meeting in person as a group, we had to conduct everything remotely. We also asked that they meet their mentees 1 hour per month. We were very flexible on how this was done, in person, over the phone, or virtually. Some people preferred to meet 15 minutes every week. Others preferred 30 minutes twice a month, and others did just 1 hour a month. The mentors were also asked to maintain a log of their time together. Our mentees' responsibilities were to join the required introduction to mentoring and the building orientation. Again, that was difficult because everything was done remotely. They also had to commit to that 1 hour a month with their mentor, and participate in goal setting and reflection. Complete a mid-year and end-year survey and document their goal progress. And although goal setting was a responsibility, we decided that this year we would be lenient in that area. And COVID played a huge factor in this decision. as we were concerned more about new hires making connections and staying physically and emotionally healthy. But our intent next year is to put more focus on the goal setting. The roles of the co-coordinators were to set dates, plan and facilitate the 4 mentor meetings with the support of Juliet of the Vermont NEA. Also, our role was to have informal check-ins with mentors, maintain a spreadsheet of the mentor-mentee information, review logs, and be available for issues and questions. We also had information in there for administrators and what their responsibilities were. So they were responsible for informing new hires of the program, and they would notify the co-coordinators of these new hires. Also, it was understood that the monthly time mentors and mentees shared was outside of working hours, as the program is presently not within our contract, and mentors were also not to evaluate or contribute to an evaluation of an employee. What was not in our handbook, but will be included in our revision, is that the admin is responsible for identifying mentors and pairing them with the new hires. It is really important that I note here that the conversations between mentors and mentees are strictly confidential, including any conversations that may occur with the co-coordinators. Another important aspect of the handbook is that we included a needs self-assessment for new hires, which focus on the 8 standards of the ESP Growth Continuum. This helped drive conversation between mentors and mentees and ensured that new hires received the support they needed based on their self-assessment. So those are the main things I'll focus on in regards to the handbook. Are there any questions, Tara, in the Q&A? No?
Nope, not right now.
Okay, great. So then we can move on. Next slide, Grace.
So as Gloria said, within our handbook, we felt it was important to keep in touch with our mentors and our mentees throughout the whole year. And this included mid-year surveys and opportunities for reflection by all participants. Laura was instrumental in doing up surveys and getting those out to all of our participants. And these are some of the thoughts from some mentors that came through within some of our surveys. I'm just going to read a couple of quotations. One said, I have noticed that this year's paras seem more connected and able to jump into situations faster. I don't know if this program has created this environment or it's the quality of the hires, but it has been inspiring to see. And I feel it's so true with this year and under the circumstances. Without this program, I think we may have struggled. Our new hires may have struggled even a little bit more with isolation, lack of training, because we're all missing out on so many of those communal spaces, the lunchroom, the staff room, things like that. So having this program was definitely important for that. Another survey participant said, having time to reflect on our work as paraeducators. I truly believe that this mentoring program is key to finding out the needs of paraeducators and helping them feel valued, appreciated, and successful in all of our schools. We also surveyed the mentees because, as I think Gloria can attest to this, we want to know in the areas of where we need to improve this program. We want it to be successful. We want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the new staff members. So here are a couple reflections from our mentee participants in the survey. One wrote, I enjoy having time with my mentor and discussing things that confuse me, things that I need help with, sometimes things that even make me happy. and things that I'd like to work on moving forward. When we meet for like an hour, and I love it. I can't remember how long we are supposed to meet each month because we meet for so long during just one session, and it's so much fun. That just warms my heart because, like I said, this year, you've probably all experienced it. It has been an isolating year. So to know that hopefully this particular mentee has seen a benefit from the program and can help us really expand upon that. One other reflection says, my mentor has been a big help in learning the new job. I always feel like I can go to her and we reach out to each other periodically to check in. Even though we do not have any students in common, it's still nice to have a good relationship with someone who's more experienced in the position. And that definitely brings in some good highlights for us that it doesn't, the mentor-mentee pairings don't always have to be, specifically within the same department. We have some mentors that are team paraeducators mentoring someone that's an intensive needs paraeducator. And some of those were strategic, some of those were just because of the need of our new hires. But just this person, is reflecting that even though they didn't work together on a team or anything like that, just having someone known in the building that they can go to and talk with and get some new ideas and resources is really, really important. Next slide, please.
Actually, before we go on, we do have a couple of questions. The first one is, where did you all get the trainings from?
So Gloria and I and Laura, we got the trainings from the Vermont NEA and Juliet Longchamp. Gloria, can you repeat her title? Because it always escapes me.
She is the Director of Professional Programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Gloria and I believe last summer, we had 3 to 4 trainings over the summertime, in addition to other meetings in order to figure out funding, to figure out, just how this was going to work. And, we were really lucky to have Juliet as our mentor.
Absolutely.
And the second question is from Josette. Was this a mandatory mentorship, and how well was it received?
So yes, it was mandatory. It was not in our contract, but people were not given an out. They were told to do this, but they were also getting a stipend to do this. And what was the second part of that, Tara?
Was it well received? Like
it
at
was
the beginning?
It was extremely well received. The new hires were so happy. They are so grateful. They tell us all the time how their mentors just kept them alive this year. We have been so isolated in our buildings, not being able to leave our pods and not being able to socialize, not being able to go to our faculty lounge. I mean, so that they had a go-to person was so beneficial, and everybody has expressed such gratitude to us for this program.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for those questions. Ready for the next slide, Gloria?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So areas of learning from this year so far. Always overestimate the numbers of mentors needed. So I'll share with you why. The school I work at, one of the 2 of our schools, we started the school year off them saying, our administrators telling us there will be no new hires this year. So I said, well, let me train a few people, give me some names, and at least train them just in case. So they gave me 3 names. So I trained 3 people to be mentors this year. Well, things quickly changed and we had 10 new hires in the building. And not enough mentors. So our mentors were so graceful in doubling up and tripling up for us. So we've learned we'd rather have more mentors trained than not, so people aren't put in that position of being an overload. Create a school calendar. So this idea came from feedback from our participants. So we're going to be working on this for next year. This would include things like reminders to sign and hand in your personal action form, or when tracking schedules are due, when it's time to re-sign up for health insurance, check your seniority list, the due date, and our letters of intent, those types of things. So they've also asked for more group meetings. So this also came from the participants' feedback. And this year we had only had one whole group meeting between the mentors and the mentees, and we're having a second one in May. There's a lot of benefits to meeting as a whole group. And so we're going to look into those possibilities for next year and expanding that. Create a list of acronyms. So this was an interesting request that made a lot of sense to us. So we will also be working on that this year. Many of our new hires do not have a background in education and have no clue what all the acronyms are in their documents and emails that they receive.
That was me.
And as you all know, in education, we have a lot of acronyms, right? ELL, ESY, EST, IEP, and the list goes on. So getting this done is truly a priority for us for this, our summer work. So leadership and decision-making. So there's no doubt in my mind that the three core coordinators, that would be me, Laura, and I, had a tremendous growth as ESPs and as leaders in our district. Learning is happening for not only the mentors and for the mentees, but for us as well. And create a binder of resources. So this is another priority of ours. And this also came from feedback we received. And I can tell you, as a co-coordinator, I was not expecting to be a mentor this year, but since I worked in that building with the overload of new hires, that changed. And actually, I'm really happy that happened, because I was able to look at the program with a different lens, that of a mentor. And I can say that without a doubt, this binder is needed. Things that I would include in it would be resources for our new employees, such as our employee assistance program, how to get in contact with them when you're in need, incident report paperwork, timesheets, info on how to find your contract, information on how to apply for professional development funds. And so that's something that we're going to be building this summer. Next slide, Stephanie.
Actually, before we go on, we do have another question. The question is, how much was the stipend and who paid the stipend?
So our mentees got a $200 stipend and our mentors got a $500 stipend for their participation in two different checks. So one in December, and they'll get one in June at the end of the program. And that money was through a grant through the Vermont NEA.
Thanks, Gloria. So our action plan for next year is, it's incredible. I'm just contemplating about what Gloria said and how much we've learned over this past year. Sorry, I just am so excited about this. So for next year, 2021-22, we plan to expand the program to the other school buildings in our district, which there are 4 more buildings. We need to identify lead trainers and for those schools and consult with the administrators to identify mentors. We, as the lead trainers and the steering committee, we will choose and train, again, along with the mentors, we will choose and train the mentors. We will provide training. Lead trainers will also be available for consultation and support. This week, as Gloria said, a year ago, we went in front of our lead administrators and presented this proposal to even start this program. Well, this week, we went back in front of our lead administrators and superintendent and everybody to seek approval to continue this program and begin piloting in the other buildings. And we think it went really well. We had some really good feedback from one of our principals that was in attendance of that meeting. One of the special education administrators gave us immediate feedback within the meeting, saying, you know, how impressed she was with what she saw with the program this particular year. And we also got a note from our human resources director just at the end of our time, and he was commending us for how great he felt like this program was. So we were really excited to get that initial feedback. And so the next thing that needs to happen is we're just hoping to get approval to expand this into the other buildings and continue on building this program. Eventually, we strive to get it into our contract in the same way that the teacher mentorship program is within their contract. And as Gloria said, back in getting this whole thing started, reaching out to your teacher mentor programs, if there is one in your school or school district, that was critical for us. And we just really appreciated the advice and feedback from one of the teacher mentors that we consulted with a couple different times. So that is our action plan for the upcoming year. And I think we can go to the next slide.
So the next slide is actually questions and answers. So this is when, if you have questions, please put them into the question and answer box. We do have one, and it is and you actually answered part of it, but is the special ed director and other staff members in the department involved with the program?
So no, they are not involved in the program. This is ESP led. The only involvement from the administration is letting us know who the new hires are and helping to pair the new hires with the mentors, because the truth of the matter is I don't know everybody and I don't know who would be a good pair with who, right? I don't work in all the buildings, so, but that would be their involvement.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I just want to say, I don't think I mean, this is also to help alleviate work for them, right? So, which they felt this year, they noted that with us, that they felt less work was on them and not being worried about new hires. So, yeah.
And if I can expand upon that, Gloria, a lot of the professional development and resources that normally need to come or need to be put together, developed by the special education administrator or the principals, that came down to the three of us, and we found resources. We found professional development that we thought was pertinent to, especially this year, with regards to health and safety and things like that. So like Gloria said, it really took a load off of our special educators special educators as well as administrators, to be able to kind of let us run with this and really put into play and into practice how much professional development was needed.
So we have another question from Jean. Did you have ESPs that did not communicate with their mentors and would not answer emails?
I believe that we had good communication throughout. There was one mentor-mentee pairing, and maybe Gloria can expand upon this a little bit more, that, you know, there just wasn't that click that happened. And that is something else to take into consideration, is that, you know, when the pairings are happening, they may not always be the right fit. And that's something that we learned as leaders and coordinators of this program is, you know, how to navigate that component as well. But Gloria, do you want to expand upon that a little bit more?
As far as people not communicating, yeah, I didn't get any complaints. I think people really needed this program and wanted this program, and so participated in it. And they did it at the capacity that they could, whether, you know, I had, you know, one mentor tell me, I call my mentee every Wednesday. We have an ongoing, and we talk for at least 15 to 20 minutes every Wednesday, and that's their time. Other people, you know, said, well, we don't have, you know, they have busier schedules. And so it might've been harder to find that time, but they did. Some people did it on the weekends, you know, but I didn't hear any feedback about people not willing to participate.
And we have one, how will you continue to fund the program? Will your district help with the funding?
So I was tasked with coming up with the budget. So we worked with our director of learning and innovation over this year, and he was the one who actually came to us right after our first presentation last year when we had this really small budget. And he said, I have money for you. I am going to pay your co-coordinator stipends through our Title II funds. So over the course of this year, we had contact with him, prepping him that, hey, we're going to be looking for some money soon, right? And he tasked me with figuring out a budget. So that was a really interesting task. So I had to take all the data from the district, and I looked at the last 3 years of our new hires and averaged it out to about 52 hires a year we do. And so put a stipend into that and came up with a budget for him, which was in the back of my mind. I knew those were our numbers, but when I was actually going through the process, I was shocked, right? So I gave him those numbers. He is looking for money. He's not sure how much he can find. But at the meeting that we had with at our presentation on Monday, he said he would be in contact with us about money.
So the next one is, do the mentor and mentee have to be in the same building?
I think so. I think, make sure I'm not muted here. I believe that it would be most beneficial for both mentor and mentee. Just again, what we find even in our district, which is big for Vermont, but probably small for comparatively to some of the regions that I've seen on our attendee chat. Each building can have a different climate, even though you're within the same district. So, you know, having somebody within your own building would probably be best practice. But I also think that, you know, if need generated, it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities that you had someone, you know, a mentor and a mentee in a different building. But I think the best advice to all of you out there is to, really put what your needs for your district and your building are as your priority. And I think that's what Gloria and Laura and I did, was we really worked within what our buildings needed. And, we are going to, again, hopefully expand to the other 4 buildings in our district, but meeting people where their needs are. And that was something that Juliet also said to us as she was training us, and, just really being available at the moment for wherever people are at.
So I actually will take the next one. It's asking what happens when your school doesn't really give any type of development programs to new or old personnel, and when they do the same thing over and over again, such as PBIS. And I think that is, and I understand that, in different states, not everybody has the right to negotiate, and it's not in everybody's control. But my best suggestion for that is through negotiations. It's through the contract. And if it can't be done in the contract, it's got to just be done by maybe your office, your curriculum director, or, your special ed director. And I think the same thing that Gloria said in the beginning is standing together and showing a united front when you're asking for big things like this. And it's hard, but we have to stand up for what is needed and what is best for the employees, the students, the school, the district, for everybody. But we understand that it's not a one size fits all. The next one is from Valerie, and it says, how did you come up with the amounts to pay the mentor and mentee? And was it a set amount, correct? It wasn't an hourly. This was a stipend.
Yes.
And how did you come up with those?
So it was actually there was another school that was piloting this, and we looked at what they were doing and went with that. And they happened to be in Vermont, and we use that. Hey, superintendent, do you know the other superintendent is doing this? And but that's how we got our numbers. And I can tell you those numbers are small, because when I look at our teacher contract, their stipends are incredible. So what we are asking for is really very limited. Yeah.
Which is very close to when you compare our wages to the teacher wages. So it's all relative.
Yeah.
Another one is, was there a certain thing that most mentors found that the new hires had the greatest need in?
Can you repeat that, Tara?
Yeah. So was there did the mentors find that there was a specific need in all the mentors or in most of the mentors?
I think this year specifically, the need was connection. Mm-hmm. And I don't perceive that to be, maybe in 2 years that may not be it, because we will be collectively getting together in the staff lounge and all of that. So for this year, it was connection for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just knowing another person in the building, it was so important. I actually changed buildings this year from last year. I started off in our district in the same building with Gloria, and then due to student needs, I was moved from the elementary middle school to the high school. And so I kind of felt like a mentee myself, because I didn't know the building. I didn't know, the specific culture. Luckily, I had been on the executive board for the union, so I knew some people and some faces, but it definitely because of the fact that we did not have the ability to come together in, full staff meetings or, even IEP meetings that I sat in, they were all Zoom, and it's not like you can do the same kind of socialization over Zoom or Google Meets or something like that as you can in person. So, having that ability for our mentees to have that one known person in the building, I think was absolutely critical for many of our mentees.
When we have tried to get this started in our district, part of our proposal was for employees who move from one age group from elementary to a different school, because it is so different. It's so different. You can't treat the kids the same way. The expectations in the classroom are so different, but we've done that too. And another question is, do you know if the stipend was taxed?
It is not taxed.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And that is all the questions we have. If there are no more. Okay.
Wow. Thank you
Grace,
all.
we're ready for.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I could just give a little shout out, I saw people on the chat as they were checking in. I saw a few of you attendees from Fairport, New York region. I'll give a shout out that I first started my career in education 6 years ago at Victor Elementary School. So I know right where you're hanging out in Fairport, New York.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Tara, Stephanie, Gloria. And you know what? I'm going to thank Juliet Longchamp also. She is obviously an incredible person. But I want to thank all three of you for everything that you're doing to certainly ensure ESP professional excellence. Oh, forgot about this slide. And if you need to reach out to any of these amazing ladies, we have their email addresses here. So please feel free to email them. And now we are wrapping up. So we're at the conclusion of our webinar. And on behalf of the NEA ESP Quality Department and the Center for Great Public Schools, we would like to thank you for taking the time to participate this evening. There are many ways you can continue to stay engaged on topics such as today's discussion. One resource is by joining NEA Ed Communities. Ed Communities is NEA's online professional learning community, which allows educators to collaborate on issues important to them, share resources and ideas, network, and more. You don't have to be an NEA member to join. You can search content by group names, by topic, or create your own group and invite colleagues across the country to collaborate with you on your desired topic. Please be sure to regularly visit the NEA ESP Professional Development webpage to stay up to date on upcoming webinar presentations and to take advantage of previously recorded professional development. To request a general session-specific certificate of completion as a participant of recorded sessions, please send your request by emailing espqweb@nea.org. All requests must include the session title and the on-screen certificate of completion code. Session certificates will not be provided if your viewer code is not included in the email request. Note, due to limitations in our ability to track attendance after live sessions, requests for personalized certificates will only be provided for participants of live webinars whose attendance can be verified. The certificate received for viewing recorded sessions will be session specific, but will not include personalized names. On behalf of the Center for Great Public Schools, NEA ESP Quality Department, I would once again like to thank our presenters for tonight's webinar presentation and thank you all for your participation. Stay safe, stay healthy, And good night from the NEA ESP Quality Department.